and welcome to the Business Talk podcast. I'm your host Deepak. I'm delighted to welcome Professor Wendong Li, an award-winning researcher and educator from the Chinese University of Hong Kong, as our distinguished guest on today's podcast episode. Professor Wendong Li is a distinguished researcher specializing in proactivity across various domains, including leadership, work design, and well-being. His research explores how individuals not only adapt to their environments but also take initiative to modify them. His work dwells into both individual factors such as personality traits and genetics and environmental influences such as workplace context and culture that drive proactivity along with its potential consequences. Recently, Professor Lee has been investigating the role of time and change-related dynamics in shaping leadership, motivation, proactivity, and well-being, offering fresh insights into how individuals and organizations navigate evolving work landscapes. Professor Wendong Lee's research has been featured in leading management and journal science journals, including Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences of the United States of America, Journal of Applied Psychology, Annual Review of Organizational Psychology and Organizational Behavior, Personal Psychology, and the Leadership Quarterly. His work has earned several prestigious awards such as Hogan Award for Personality and Work Performance, Society for Industrial and Organizational Psychology, International HRM Scholarly Achievement Award by Academy of Management, Best Student Convention Paper Award from Academy of Management, Best Paper Award in Organizational Behavior Division from Asian Academy of Management. Beyond academia, his research has been widely covered in global media outlets, including The Economist, USA Today, The Washington Post, Los Angeles Times, and South China Morning Post. Professor Wendong Li plays a significant role in academic publishing and professional leadership. He currently serves as Associate Editor of Journal of Occupational and Organizational Psychology, Senior Editor at Management and Organizational Review and Asia Pacific Journal of Management, and contributing editor of Journal of Applied Psychology. He has been an editorial board member for leading journals such as Journal of Management, Personal Psychology, Journal of OB, and Acta Psychologica Sinica, widely regarded as China's top psychology journal. Additionally, he is a board member of the Asian Academy of Management. He recently joined the board of reviewing editors of PNAS Nexus, a companion journal to the Proceeding of National Academy of Sciences, the flagship publication of the National Academy of Sciences. Dr. Wendong Li is currently serving as the editor of upcoming special issue in the Journal of Organizational Behavior titled From Personality Traits to Personality Dynamics, New Approaches to Personality Research in Organizations. In addition to his editorial work, he collaborates with the Institute for Statistical and Data Science to promote the use of advanced research methodologies in organizational research, enhancing the precision and impact of studies in the field. Dr. Wendong Li earned his PhD from the National University of Singapore and has been a visiting scholar at the Rotman School of Management, University of Toronto, and the Carlson School of Management at University of Minnesota. In this episode, Professor Wendong Li will share insights from his research on Genome-Wide Association study of occupational creativity and its relation with well-being and career success. So further without delay, let's welcome Professor Wendong Li to the podcast. Professor Wendong Li, it's an honor and privilege to have you join us today.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Deepak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Li, your LinkedIn post references Walter Isaac's observation that Elon Musk might have certain mental health conditions. You mentioned that your research explored this connection and suggests a potential genetic link between genius, madness, and success. Could you share more about this study and its key findings? And what insights does your research offer on the role of genetics in shaping extraordinary talent and psychological traits?
Yeah. So basically, for this study, this study is a continuation of our prior research looking at the genetic foundation of work-related behaviors. So in the very first study, we examined the genetic foundation for leadership. So the second study, in this study, we examined the genetic foundation for creativity. And also we want to examine the genetic overlap between creativity, mental health, and also career success. In this study, we use data from the UK biobank. It is a huge data set, and we are very fortunate to have that data set, and also another data set from the United States. Pretty much what we found is, first we found the so-called genetic foundation for creativity, meaning that for human beings, why some people are more creative and other people are less creative. And one of the reasons is that we have different genetic makeup. This is first finding, and it is related to our specific genes. The second finding is that so basically for the correlation, we found genetic overlap between creativity and also some mental health and physical health variables. As one example, we found a positive genetic correlation, meaning that between creativity and autism, meaning that when you have such genes, and these genes may likely to increase the chance for you to be creative, it can also increase the chance for you to exhibit autism symptoms. And the same for bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. This sounds like the dark side, right? But we also found some positive side. So we found, having the so-called creativity genes can also increase the chance for you to earn a lot of money at work, to enhance your income, and also to enhance your job satisfaction, and also to enhance your occupational status. So having high level of a high status job, for example. But it's probably the most intriguing finding of this research is that we also examine the genetic overlap between occupational creativity and reproductive success. So what we examine is like by reproductive success, I mean like how many children do you have, the age for you to have the first child, for example. So we found that having the so-called creativity gene can actually enhance the age, increase the age for you to have the firstborn, and also reduce the chance for you to have more child. Okay.
Very
So in a
insightful.
way, yeah. So in a way, it is very interesting. This is something that we did not expect in the very beginning.
Professor Lee, creativity is often seen as defining traits of human intelligence. How does your study expand our understanding of its genetics basis?
Um, uh, I think for our study, so basically what we found is, in the literature, people typically they categorize creativity like into either artistic creativity or scientific creativity, right? So in our study, we try to coin this term, or we use this term. It's called managerial creativity. And we found actually the genetic foundation for the three different types of creativity. And also, more importantly, found a positive genetic correlation between creativity and intelligence, i.e., IQ. So in a way that, which means the same type of genes that can enhance your, can have a positive correlation with the IQ can also make you more likely to be creative in the future.
You categorize creativity into artistic, scientific, and managerial domains. Could you
Right.
elaborate on the significance of this distinction?
Yeah. As I just mentioned, in the literature on creativity, generally speaking, people have studied mostly artistic creativity and scientific creativity. So as we all know, right, the artists are really creative, like Van Gogh, like Picasso, right? They are very creative in generating all different types of artwork. We also have like the scientific genius, like Einstein, for example, right? Like all those people, they can really make important scientific breakthrough. Right. So those two type of creativity have been mostly studied. However, because my background is in management and organizational psychology, right? From that background, in our literature, we also stress the importance of, for example, coming up with a new approach to manage people, like to help other people to better to do their job. Right. So this type of creativity, in our point of view, is very different from artistic or scientific creativity, but it also fit well with the definition of creativity, which is you can come up with something novel and useful. So in our case, it is you can come up with some new management approaches, novel and useful. So we call this managerial creativity. And actually, there are some a lot of very good examples of this. Like over time, we have different ways of managing people, have different different ways to manage organizations, different ways to, prompt the economy, for example, right? So all those are very different from artistic creativity and scientific creativity. So we believe, this is a very important category for us to study.
There has been a long debate about the connection between creativity and mental disorders. Your research challenges the stereotype of creativity being linked to negative well-being outcomes. Can you explain your findings in this regard?
Yeah, I think for this regard, we have evidence for like the okay, if you use the term the bright side and also the dark side of having a creativity gene. So we found evidence for both. Okay, so on the one hand, we found that for example, having this so-called creativity gene can actually also enhance the chance for you to have higher level of subjective well-being. Like things like when you ask me, how do I feel? How do I rate my life? This type of subjective well-being is also important for human being. So we found that having this so-called creativity gene can enhance the chance for you to have higher level of subjective well-being and also longevity. You have a better probability, better chance to live a longer life. To many people, this is good news, right? But on the other hand, and indeed, as the old saying, man and genius, right? They oftentimes go hand in hand. Like I just described before, we also found, some creativity gene can actually enhance the chance for you to have autism and bipolar disorder, which might not always be a good thing for you. So, in a way, it's kind of like a mixed blessing.
Were there any surprising genetic correlations that you didn't anticipate?
Yeah, so this one is probably, as I mentioned, it's probably the genetic correlation between occupational creativity and reproductive success indicators. So having the so-called creative gene can enhance the chance for you to have the first child at a very late age, and also can reduce the chance to have a lot of children, right? So from a evolutionary type of perspective, think about this. All those very creative people, they are really important. They we call them genius, right? So they are really, really important. And from an evolutionary point of view, we want to, as a group, human being, we want to keep their genes, right? Which means we want them to produce more offsprings. We want them to have more children, right? But actually, those genes, what we found according to our data, those genes can also reduce the chance for them to have a lot of children, to kind of enhance the chance for them to have a firstborn at a very late age. So in a way, this might not be a very good thing for human being.
Professor, your study also found positive genetic overlaps between creativity and career success, indicators like income and occupational status. Does this suggest that creativity is an asset in professional advancement?
Um, in that way, I would say so the direct answer is more like a yes. Uh, uh, so in addition to the genetic correlation, again, it means the genetic overlap between creativity and for example, income. Right. So basically, what we found is having the so-called creativity gene can enhance the chance for you to earn more money at work, and also to have a more prestigious occupation. Right? So it seems it is a good thing. But on the other hand, when you look at the correlation, when you look at the correlation between creativity, we call this the phenotypic correlation. So we have data on people's creativity. We also have data on people's income and occupational prestige and occupational status. So when you correlate the two sets of data, actually what we found is a positive correlation between on a phenotypic it is a different from a genetic level, but from the appearance from the phenotypic level, we found that it is a positive correlation between occupational creativity and income, for example, meaning that on a when you observe people, very creative people, actually most of them are likely to earn more money instead of less money, as a lot of stereotypical observation says. And like we heard this a lot, right? Like artists, we say starving artists. Oftentimes you have the impression and the stereotype that artists are really poor and they live in a very bad place, right? And they oftentimes they starve. That's oftentimes our impression of an artist. But according to our data, across the board, across artistic creativity, scientific creativity, and also managerial creativity, what we found is a positive correlation. So meaning that if you are very creative people, you are less likely to get starved.
Dr. Lee, on the flip side, your research also suggests that creativity-related genes may reduce reproductive success. Could you
Yes.
explain the evolutionary implications of this?
Yeah. So in a way, I think again, if you think as I just talked a little bit about already, if you think about it from an evolutionary perspective, you may think, well, this doesn't make sense, right? For human being, for our species, all those creative people, they are the genius of the human species, and from a it's like for the survival of human being, for the reproduction of human being, we want their genes to transmit it more. We want them to have more children, rather than less, right? Um, so in a way, I think this might not necessarily be a good thing, but on the flip side, when you think about evolution in terms of the survival and the reproduction of the whole group of the like all the human beings, for example, right? So all those creative people, what do they often do? They can think out of the box. Oftentimes if you think out of the box, and then if you act on all those novel ideas, because this is something out of the ordinary, right? So this oftentimes it comes with some sort of risks, right? So creative behaviors are oftentimes risky behaviors. So in a way, I think so. In a way, all those creative people, by acting in a really novel and unconventional way, they help human beings to explore new things, to explore new ways of doing things, to explore some new territories, right? At the risk of like if you always explore the new things, it's very likely you may get into trouble. You may have some accident, and maybe you may die young, right? So in a way, although this is good for the whole group of human being, but it is not necessarily a good thing for the very creative people, right? So if you think from this perspective, it seems like you know, it is a good thing for the survival and the reproduction of the whole human being as a group, although it may not necessarily a good thing for the individuals who are really creative. So this is always a trade-off in a way.
Managerial creativity is an unexplored area. What unique insights did your study reveal about creativity in leadership and business management?
I think what we hear in our findings, what we found is managerial creativity. Uh, if you compare the three different types of creativity, right, artistic creativity, scientific creativity, and managerial creativity, it seems like managerial creativity is less influenced by genetic factors. So in other words, it's probably more influenced by environmental factors. So which if you think this, although having significant genetic influence doesn't mean it's hard to change. But if you think about from an environmental perspective, so if environmental factors may have greater influence on managerial creativity, which means probably organizations and managers, maybe they have more room to kind of help people to become more creative. So actually, this is what many organizations and managers have been doing, right? So like for many organizations, they're trying to use very different measures to help their employees, to help their organizations to become more creative. And in management, we have a lot of tools for those. Like we use pay for performance, we use pay for creativity, for example, right? So we have all those measures that we hope that can stimulate more creativity and innovation in organizations.
Many people believe that highly creative individuals struggle with job satisfaction. What does your study reveal about the relationship between creativity and workplace fulfillment?
Okay, so we have data on two levels. On the service level, so for example, if you just correlate the data we have between creativity and people's job satisfaction, and actually what we found is there's a positive correlation there. So in other words, it means if you are a very creative person, there's a very good chance that you will also feel that you are satisfied. You have high level of fulfillment at work. This is at the so-called phenotypic level or observational level. If you look at the data at the genetic level, I mean the genetic correlation between occupational creativity and job satisfaction. And what we found is actually also a positive correlation. Translation, so that means, again, the so-called creativity gene can probably enhance the chance for you to have a more satisfied work, a more fulfilled career. So although the correlation is not super high, it's not like very high, but it is still a positive correlation there.
Dr. Lee, your study leveraged large-scale data from the UK Biobank and independent replication samples. What challenges did you face in conducting such an extensive study?
Uh, as a matter of fact, I still consider myself as a very fortunate and because we are able to have access to all those very rare and really important data sets that allow us to examine some important research questions that cannot be examined otherwise. Of course, today we have all those restrictions to get access to data, especially on genetic data, right? So there's a lot of obstacles to make sure that we can ensure the privacy, to make sure that the data cannot be misused. A lot of such issues over there. In a way, it is related to our the ethical codes that we have to adhere as a researcher, right? So I think those are probably the most important challenges that we face. So on the one hand, we really want to study all those issues related to genetics, but on the other hand, we have all those ethical standards. We have to make sure the data cannot be misused. We also have to make sure that the data cannot be misinterpreted in a way that we do not want to tell people once you have this gene, and then you are likely to become a leader, you are likely to become a very creative person, you are likely to become a genius. We do not want genetic determinism. What we are trying to do is we are trying to use all those rare data and to show that genetic influences actually are really complicated. And oftentimes, it is not a genetic determinism. Oftentimes, genetic influences you have to be considered together with environmental influences. So they work together to shape our experiences, to shape our job satisfaction, our mental health, and also our reproductive success.
Given your findings, do you think organizations should actively foster different types of creativity in their employees?
In a way, I think so. It is hard for us to have implications on really organizations because our focus is on people's genetic factors, and oftentimes, again, we have this misinterpretation, especially in organizational research, which goes like if you have significant genetic influences, it means organizations cannot do anything about it, which is not entirely true. Okay, so maybe we did not study directly in this research, but because we have been working on this issue for some time. So our vision is like, first, we really hope organizations can respect individual differences. So different employees are really different. So in other words, organizations you need to treat your employees differently according to their different talents, for example, right? According to their different preferences, according to their different values, right? So you have to respect the differences, and then to respect is first step. And the next step is that maybe what can organizations do is to provide some environment that can provide a better person and job fit, which can allow employees to really fully utilize their human potentials. So I can give you one example. We know that in many organizations in the US, like Microsoft and some other organizations, these days they try to hire people with autistic people. So the assumption is that, again, according to our research, autism and creativity are genetically correlated. And phenotypically, what we oftentimes see is that some people with autistic symptoms actually are very smart and very creative, and they can help organizations to achieve a lot, really a lot. So that's why some organizations, they try to hire people with autistic symptoms. So what they do is that they give them a lot of freedom. They give them very different treatment as compared to other employees. Because, so in a way, so we have a term for this. We call this personalized organization. Personalized organization, meaning that organizations probably in the future, if you really care about your employees, really care about not only it is a good thing for employee, but also it's probably a good thing for the organization, right? If you care about the organization, if you care about your creativity, if you care about also your employee, try to first respect the individual differences of your employees, and then try to provide really a good environment that can allow different types of employees to flourish, to fully utilize their human potentials in organization. And this way, in my point of view, this can lead to a win-win situation for both the organization and for employees.
How do you see the role of artificial intelligence in shaping the future of human creativity?
This is a really good question. I also got this question, and what I can see is that people have two different views on this one. Okay, so some pessimistic people think, oh, you have I don't know how often do you use AI in your work. Some people think, oh, when you allow employees to use AI that often, when you allow our students in universities to use AI to fix their homework, all those students and employees will get lazy. Some people think, oh, they will get lazy, and then this is probably a bad thing for creativity and innovation because they don't think for themselves anymore. They just use AI to think for themselves. So the assumption is the implication is that using AI may may be detrimental for human creativity and innovation. But on the other hand, another school of thought is, this may not necessarily be a bad thing. Think about this. We know many researchers, for example, my friends, what they do with using all those AI tools, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, all those tools, they ask them to generate novel ideas, and then from all those ideas, they say, oh, so which one is really feasible, is more likely to be carried out, and that if you use AI in that way, probably this can make you more creative in the future, right? So in other words, I would not say that AI will necessarily reduce or enhance your creativity. I think as any other type of technology depends on how do we use it, right? If you use it in a really creative way, of course it's good thing. If you use it in a not very creative way, in a destructive way, it could be a bad thing, right? So all depends on the human who use it.
Professor Lee, my last question. If you could dispel one myth about creativity based on your research, what would it be?
Yeah, it is tough. I think it's probably something like so we oftentimes you have this again the image of starving artists, right? And then the myth is creativity is probably not very cannot give you career success. But what we found is actually creativity is a very good thing for career success, but it is a mixed blessing for your mental health issues. So that means if you are a really creative person, you have to first be aware of all those, be mindful of all those potential benefits and drawbacks, and then somehow you need to manage. Yeah, you need to manage, especially the drawbacks. Seek help. Try to find the organization, the job that can really allow you, to work in your own way. All those important things. It has a lot to do with how do we manage our careers.
As we conclude this insightful discussion, I would extend my heartfelt gratitude to Professor Wendong Li for joining us today. His groundbreaking research on proactivity, leadership, and well-being has not only deepened on our understanding of how individuals shape their work environments, but has also provided invaluable perspectives on the evolving nature of organizations. Professor Lee's extensive contributions spanning top-tier academic journals, global media recognition, and leadership in editorial and scholarly communities underscore his profound impact on the field of organizational behavior. His research continues to bridge the gap between theory and practice, offering fresh insights into how we navigate change, foster innovation, and enhance workplace well-being. Thank you, Professor Lee, for sharing your expertise with us. It has been a privilege to learn from you. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Stay connected for more thought-provoking conversation ahead. Thank you so much, Professor Wendong Li.
Thank you so much again for the opportunity. Yeah, it's fun.